Hi there and welcome to one of our talks from Cambo Gardens. My name's Shelley, I'm one of the gardeners here at Cambo. I'm in the Snowdrop packing room at the moment just to give you a little introduction to our herbarium. So we decided to start a herbarium in 2019 from using the Galanthus collection here at Cambo. So we've got a national collection of Galanthus. We hold over 350 different cultivars, and we decided in 2019 to start recording them in the style of a herbarium. So a herbarium is basically a systematically arranged collection of dried plants, and it's a vital reference when you need to identify a plant. And also a herbarium can be used to study biodiversity, and preserved plant specimens are also really good for extracting DNA, which is really useful for and important to science. So in 2019 we managed to collect over 40 different specimens, and this was with help from our Bright Future apprentices at the time. So we then, the Cambo gardeners managed to gather 20 more specimens in 2020, which we used for a virtual volunteering project during the COVID pandemic. So when collecting specimens, it's really good to try and get as much of the plant material as possible. So here's one of the bulbs which is from one of the dispatch boxes, and you can press the whole specimen, including the bulb. If you want, you can slice the bulb in half, and that makes it easier to press. But otherwise you can just take the top of the specimen, and this can be pressed just as it is. So when you're collecting specimens, it's really important to get permission from landowners. It's illegal to collect wildflowers, so anything that you do collect, if it's not from your own garden, you do need to get permission to do that. So here I've got Mrs. McNamara from the Cambo National Collection of Galanthus, and one way of pressing the specimens is to just take some of the flower parts apart. And so you could, for instance, take off the outer perianth segments, and it's really easy to do that just by taking a finger and thumb and just detaching the petals, and then you can place them in a separate little piece of tissue paper. So you can do that with as many of the perianth segments as you like. You could either take the inner ones out if you wanted to. I'm just going to take the outer ones and put them in the tissue paper just for extra absorbency, and then I'm going to lay this on the sheet, which is just a sheet of cartridge paper, and I've also got a leaf from the Galanthus specimen here as well, which I'm going to press. It's really important to have three bits of information that need to go on the specimen sheet. One is the place where you collected the specimen, the second is the date, and the third is the person who collected it. So if you want this specimen to go into a herbarium, a registered herbarium, then it's really important to get those bits of information down. So then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to place all the pieces, fold the cartridge paper over, and then I'm going to put an extra layer of absorbency, which is just a piece of newspaper, and then this goes on to press, which I just put together just using cardboard and newspaper and cartridge paper. So cardboard is just for absorbency as well, so you place your other piece of cardboard on top, and then here we've just got a piece of hardboard at the top and the bottom, and that goes on, and then I'm just using a belt to wrap round and then tighten. But if you're doing it at home, you can just use heavy books on the top here, and they usually take between sort of 10 days and 2 weeks to dry. You just need to be in an airy room, preferably not on a radiator to start with, because it tends to dry out the specimens too quickly and they can get a little bit discoloured. So when it comes to mounting the specimens, once they're dried, you can place them in any position at all on the paper that you decide to put them onto. Ideally, if it's going to be a collection that you might want to donate, then you need to use acid-free paper, and these poly pockets are acid-free as well. So these are all resources that you can get online from different sort of herbarium establishments. So this paper is acid-free, and these poly pockets are also acid-free. And to mount the specimens, we've just used a very thin sliver of PVA glue with a paintbrush on the back of each piece. And as long as everything is displayed, so the perianth segments, here we've got the ovary, which you could do on your specimen before you dry it. You can also splice the ovary in half, as well as the bulb, and you can display that. You can see on this one, which is John Gray, you can see the ovary on here as well. So basically, as much information as possible needs to go on the sheet, and this is so it's of more scientific benefit. And here we have the label with those 3 important pieces of information. So you've got where it was collected from the Plant Heritage Collection at Cambo, you've got who it was collected by, and you've also got the date on there. Okay, so like I said, with the Our Bright Future apprentices in 2019, we collected about 40 different cultivars from the National Collection of Galanthus here at Cambo, and we dried them, pressed the specimens, and then mounted them on the acid-free paper. And they're all presented in this folder, which is available for visitors to see if they request it. So you can see how they're all quite artistically presented, but every bit of the plant is displayed on the paper with the label with all the details on. So we decided to hold an exhibition for last year's Snowdrop Festival, and for the exhibition we went to Edinburgh Botanic Garden, and we used in their herbarium their scanners. So we scanned about 30 of the Galanthus that were pressed here at Cambo, and then we were able to put those scanned images into frames with a more detailed label, enlarged label, and these were on display in the sort of shop and visitor centre area at Cambo last year. Okay, so due to the COVID pandemic in 2020, we unfortunately had to suspend our volunteers. So we came up with the idea of a virtual volunteering project, and this was using the herbarium specimens that the gardeners collected in 2019. So we had these specimens which had all been pressed, and what we did was we gave them out to the volunteers that we usually have here in the garden, and they decided to arrange the plant material in their own creative way, and then they gave the specimens back to us, the mounted specimens, and we've been able to do labels with the individual volunteer that mounted the specimens on there. So this has been a really lovely project, and a great way of involving the volunteers in the garden still, because it's been really difficult for them to not be able to visit and carry out their normal volunteering responsibilities. So this is a way of engaging them in the garden, and by the looks of all the different mounted specimens that have come back, they've obviously had a really enjoyable time at home looking through the Galanthus collection and mounting each specimen that they were given in their own creative way.